Shadowkiss, Chapter 17. Out of the runway, Christian stood near the entrance of the plane, along with a few of other guardians. Lisa ran off to talk to him, leaving me and Emmett alone. He had not said a word the entire way back from the spa. Strong and silent were typical behaviors for him, but something about his mood struck me unusual this time. Are you still thinking about what Ronanda said? That woman is total scam. Why do you say that? He asked, stopping not far from where the others stood. A sharp wind blustered us all in the face, and I hoped he could board soon. Because she don't tell us anything, you should have. You're my future. It was like one sentence stating the obvious. Lisa had a better fortune. I admitted, but it was not really anything that profound. Renanda said she could be a great leader. I mean, seriously, how hard is that to figure it out? Drummond smiled at me. Could you believe believe her if she could given you a more interesting reading? Maybe if it was good. When he just laughed, I asked, but you're taking it seriously. Why? You really believe in that kind of stuff? It is not so much that I believe or that I don't believe. He wore a black kinch cap over his head today and tucked it down to better cover his ears. I just respect people like her. They have access to knowledge other people don't. She is not as pretty as I do, so I am not really sure what she is getting this knowledge. I still think she is a con artist. She is a Virgatoria, actually. Uh, I was not even going to touch that one. What? Is that Russian? Romanian. It means, well, there is no real translation, which is close, but that is not right. Their idea of a witch is not same as us Americans. I had never expected to have a conversation like this with him. I just don't think of Drummond as a superstition type. For half a moment, I thought that if he could believe in something like witches and fortune tellers, maybe he could have handled me seeing ghosts. I considered saying something to him, but promptly decided against it. I could not have had a chance to say anything anyway because Drummond kept talking. My grandmother was like Ronaldo, he explained. That's it. She practiced the same kind of arts. Personality wise, you're very different. Your grandmother was whatever. It is called something else in Russian, but yes, same meaning. She used to read cards and give advice too. It was how she made her living. I bit off my comments about frauds. Was she right in her predictions? Sometimes. Don't look at me like that. Like what? You have got this look on your face that says you think I'm delusional, but you're too nice to say anything. Delusions is kind of harsh. I'm just surprised, that's all. I never expected you to buy into this stuff. Well, I grew up with it, so it does not seem that strange to me. And like I said, I'm not sure I buy it 100%. Adrian had joined the group of by the plane and was protesting loudly about us being able to board yet. I never thought of you as having a grandmother either. I admitted. I mean, obviously you have to, but still, it is just weird to think about growing up with one. Connect with my own mother was rare enough, and I could never ever met any of my other family members. Was it weird having a witch grandma? Scary? Was she always like threatening to cast spells if you were bad? Most of the time, she just threatened to send me to my room. That does not sound so scary to me. That is because you have not met her. I noted the wording. Is she still alive? He nodded. Yeah. It will take more than an old age to kill her off. She's tough. She's actually a guardian for a while. Really? Much like with Ambrose, my fixed ideas about Dampier's guardians and Bledos are getting muted. So she gave it up to become to stay with her kids? She has very strong ideas about families. Ideas that probably sound kind of sexiest to you. She believes all Dampiers should train and put in time as guardians, but that women should eventually return home to raise their children together. But not the men? No, she said barely. She thinks men still need to stay out there and kill Strigoi. Wow. I remember Drummer telling me a little about his family. His father had popped back every so often, but that was about it for the men in his life. All of his siblings were sisters, and honestly, the idea don't sound so sexist. I had the same ideas about men going off to fight, which was why meeting Ambrose had been so weird. You are the one who had to go. The woman in your family kicked you out. Hardly. He laughed. My mother could take me back in a second if I wanted to come home. He was smiling like it was a joke, but I saw something in us that looked a lot like homesickness. It was gone in a flash, though, as Trimmer turned around when Adrian started opening about how we could finally board. When we were settled to the plane, Lisa could hardly wait to tell our friends about the news. She started off with how I could be called in to see the Queen. That was not a topic I wanted to discuss, but she pushed forward, excited that the Queen had wanted to prize me. Everyone seemed impressed except Adrian. The look in his face told me that he was sure that she most definitely had not called me in for that. However, there was enough of a puzzled look in his eyes to make me think he had no clue about the real reason. It was about time I know something he don't. I had a feeling he could have been in a shock by the idea of him hooking up with Lisa as I could been. Lisa then told them about the offer to live in the court and go to college at Leham. I still cannot believe it. She mused. It sounds too good to be true. Adrian knocked back a glass of what looked like a whiskey. How had he gotten a hold of that so soon? Coming from my great aunt? It is too good to be true. What do you mean? I asked. After being accused of being engaged in a fictitious romance by Titan and finding out she had a Dampier lover feeder, nothing about her could surprise me anymore. Is Lisa in trouble? What? Bloodily? No. It is just my great aunt does not do things out of her kindness of her heart. Well, Adrian amended. Sometimes she does. She is not a total bitch, and I think she mean it about worrying about Dragmoros. I have heard she liked your parents, but as to why she is doing this, I don't know. I have got her radical ideas. Maybe she does want to hear different opinions, or maybe she wants to keep an eye on you, keep you from causing trouble. Or maybe she wants to marry Lisa off to you, I silently added. Christian don't like any of this. He's right. They could be trying to rein you in. You should go and live with Aunt Tasha. You don't have to go with Morai school. But she will be safer if she does. I admitted it was all of fighting the system and keeping Lisa away from the loyal plans. But if she went to college, that was not one of the Morai protected. She is in danger, and I certainly don't want that either. I started to add more, but just then the plane took off. As soon as it was in the air, my headache from yesterday returned. It was like the air around us pressing on my skull. Son of a bitch, I groaned, putting my hand on my forehead. You're sick again? Asked Eliza, worried. I nodded. Have you always have trouble flying? Asked Adrian, gesturing for someone to refill his drink. Never. I said, damn it, I don't want to go through this again. I gritted my teeth and tried to ignore the pain as well as those black shapes again. It took some effort, but if I focused hard enough, I actually got it to all listen a little weird. Still, I don't want to talk much after that, and everyone left me alone. The college conversation dropped off. Hours passed. It was almost time to arrive back to the academic. One of the Moray flight attendants walked down the aisle to our group, a frown on her face. Alberta instantly snapped to attention. What is wrong? An ice storm just blew through the area. The flight attendant said, we cannot land on St. Valdemic because the runway is not accessible with the ice and winds. We need fuel, however, so we are going to land at Material Religion. It is a small airport a few hours away by the car, but they was not as affected as much. Our plan is to land there before and then fly in the academic once they have cleared the runway. It is less than an hour by air. It was annoying news, but I don't sound too bad. Besides, what could we do? At the very least, I could get some relief soon. If my headache behaved like before, I could go away when we were on the ground. We settled back into our seats and put on the belts reading from the landing. The weather looked miserable outside, but the pilot was good and landed with no difficulties, and that is when it happened. As soon as we touched the ground, my world exploded. The headache don't go away. It got worse, much worse, and I don't thought that was possible. I felt like my entire skull was being ripped open, but that just the beginning because suddenly all around me were faces, ghosts, transparent faces and bodies just like Manson's, and oh God, they were everywhere. I could not even see the seats of more my friends, just those faces and their hands. Pale, shining hands reached out to me, mouths open like they could speak, and all of those faces looked as though they were wanted something from me. And the more they came at me, the more of them I started to recognize. I saw Victor's guardian, the ones who had been killed when we rescued Lisa. Their eyes were wide and terrified. What? Were they reliving their deaths? Mixed in with them were children I don't recognize right away. Then I knew they were the ones Dreamt and have found dead after a streak or mascara. These children had the same washed out look Manson had, but their necks were covered in blood, just as they could be at the house. Its scarlet hue stood out in the stark contrasting to their shadow, luminous bodies. Thicker and thicker the face grew, while none of them actually spoke. They seemed to be buzzing in my ear. That grow sound was more and more of them came. Three new figures joined the crowd. They should have blended into the rest, but they stood out almost as sharply as the blood of the children's necks had. It was Lisa's family, her mother, her father, and her brother, Andre. They looked exactly as they had the last time I had seen them, just before the car accident. Blood, beautiful, regal, like Manson. They owed no marks on their deaths, even though I knew the crash had done horrible things to them. Unlike Manson, they just chatted at me with sad eyes, not speaking but clearly wanting to say something. Only, unlike with Manson, I understood the message. There was a large patch of blackness behind Andre that was steadily growing bigger. He pointed to me and then pointed to it. I know, without understanding how I know, that it was entrance to the world of death, the world I had come from. Andre, who could be my age when he died, pointed again. His parents joined him. They don't have to speak for me to know what they are saying. You should not have lived. You need to come back with us. I started screaming and screaming. I thought someone on the plane talking to me, but I could not be sure. Not when I could not see anything but those faces, hands, and the blackness behind Andre. Every so often, Manson's face materialized nearby Solomon and said, I appealed to him for help. Make them go away. I yelled, make them go away. But there was nothing he could do or could do. Frantically, I undid my seatbelt and tried to stand up. The ghosts don't touch me, but they were all too close, still reaching and pointing with skeletal hands. I waved my arms to fend them off, screaming for someone to help me and make this all stop. There was no help for me, though, no help for all those hands and hollow eyes or the pain that consumed me. It grew so bad that glittering black spots began to dance across my field of vision. I had a feeling I was going to pass out. Make them go away. I yelled, make them go away, but there was nothing he could do or could. Frantically, I undid my seatbelt and tried to stand up. The ghosters don't touch me, but they were all too close, still reaching and pointing with skeletal hands. I waved my arms to fend them off, screaming for someone to help me and make this all stop. There was no help for me, though, no help for all those hands and hollow eyes or the pain that consumed me. It grew so bad that glittering black spots began to dance across my field of vision. I had a feeling I was going to pass out, and I welcomed that. It could make the pain go away and save me from the faces. The spots grew bigger and bigger, and soon I could no longer see anything. The faces disappeared, and so did the pain, as the sweet black waters dragged me under.